Okay, we're continuing on part 3 here with Anti-Citizen. Anti-Citizen, I want to point out something to you. Again, I don't think you care about this stuff. I really don't. I think that you're just doing your mishmash here to paint Christianity in the worst possible light. But look at what this apologist says. He says, the Bible is the Word of God, and that is original. That its original manuscripts. Did you see that? You might not be able to see it on the video here, but it says original manuscripts are free from errors and contradictions. Okay, manuscripts, the original manuscripts. Remember that.
Against the prospect of being wrong about things, as if we're supposed to just take it all on faith that not a single one of the dozens of biblical authors, scribes, and editors was even remotely capable of the slightest shred of personal bias, misinterpretation, embellishment, or deliberate fraud. And this is in spite.
Okay, this says textual variants in the New Testament. You might not be able to see that, but it's at the top. I'm going to scroll down to show how there's all these variants in the New Testament, which there are. I think the apologist's name was Matt Slick. He put the original manuscripts. That's what we all believe, that the original manuscripts are what are infallible, the infallible Word of God. And what we believe is that it's the spiritual truths that they teach are infallible. Okay? You're putting variants here of what copyists did later. And again, you're going to scroll down as if there's all these errors in the Bible, and this shows it, and then you're going to go down, 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 down. These are variants. So a little scribe made a little error here. That's a variant. And Bart Ehrman recognizes that. Okay. And if you read his book again, I'd recommend you reading his book rather than just parroting him in ignorance. He says that the vast majority of these variants are insignificant to the original message. And that's what we're talking about, is this original message. So you're being dishonest here, really. You're just, again, I don't, I'm just trying to point this out to other people because I don't think you really care. But I'm just trying to point this out to other people that I'm going to show this video to, that you're completely mixing categories here. So let's keep going.
Of the fact that we literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of well-documented examples of exactly that sort of thing in early New Testament manuscripts.
Again, variants. So he's going down, scrolling, showing.
They simply assume in advance that everything in the Bible is the inspired word of God Himself and therefore completely free of error. Next in our list of historical methods is a simple guideline that says first-hand information is more credible than second-hand, which is more credible than third-hand, and so on. This is simply an application of the famous telephone problem.
Okay, here we go with the telephone. Is this how it really worked in the early church? No, it didn't work this way. Jesus, Anti-Citizen, Jesus didn't whisper to Peter. He didn't whisper to Peter the gospel message. You know what he did? Jesus went up on mountaintops, and Jesus went up in communities and told the message to dozens, maybe hundreds of people at one time, with followers that thought he was speaking the very words of God. And this community remembered that. Do you think that and this was an oral community? We're a visual culture. This is an oral community, an oral culture. They remembered things with the ear. We are visual through the eye. We watch TV, movies, and all this. Not the telephone game. I know you heard that from Bart Ehrman, but it's not. It's a community. And this group thought this information was so important. This was sacred, messianic information that they believed they were hearing. They believed that Jesus, this was at least an apocalyptic prophet until he fully manifested himself as the Messiah, especially when he rode into Jerusalem. But they thought his words were the very words of God itself. So, and it was to a community. A lot of people heard it. It's not the telephone game. Okay.
Where information is inevitably corrupted as it hops from one individual to another. It's also the reason why nearly all forms of hearsay are utterly inadmissible in any modern court of law. You
community, not one person.
Supposed to be credible, then it sure would be awfully nice if they were written by the actual people who were actually there. But
Okay.
of course they weren't. And
Now, it's not. We don't simply have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We have Paul, and we have other documents in the New Testament that preserve traditions that go back very early to Jesus himself, and to definitely eyewitnesses that saw Jesus. Luke was using Mark and Q. Both of those are early. Now Mark is using his, and within those, scholars can detect traditions that go back very early. Matthew's using Mark, Q, and other material. John, it's pretty divided about if John is independent from the synoptics, but he is definitely using other traditions for his gospel. So it's not simply 4 people. And then you have Paul, who's a whole nother person in the mix, who has traditions in his letters that date back very early. So it's not just simply 4 people here that were eyewitnesses. These 4, and you're right, this is correct. They were at first anonymous, and then later these were attributed to them. And I believe for good reason that they were attributed to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But at least what we have within these Gospels is traditions that go back very early to the early Christian community that was in Jerusalem.
oftentimes are openly proud of it. For example, absolutely nothing in the entire New Testament was actually written by Jesus himself.
Okay, that turn the other cheek there, that's what it says. That is in Q, which most scholars probably date into the 40s. It's in Romans, the essence of it, that pericope that Jesus teaches there in the Sermon on the Mount, and in Luke 6 in the Sermon on the Plain, is in Paul in Romans chapter 12 about loving your enemy, so and doing good to those who hate you. So these things go very early into an oral culture, and again, you're not being accurate here. So let's stop here, and we'll continue on in part 4.